Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia. How you doing?
And we're here today talking about GenCon 2014 and the games. This will be a few videos. We'll be going through the publishers in alphabetical order, kind of, and talking about them. So today we're starting with 1.
1A.
But before we do this, a couple things. I'm not really going to be talking much about people who are there to show off a game that is being kickstarted during GenCon. I think there's at least 5 to 10 publishers, I think, who are doing that. Like,
yes.
Here's my first game, I'm launching it now, or I'm about to launch it. That stuff's kind of interesting. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just that we're talking about published games, games that you can buy, hopefully.
Yeah, just as a way to have these videos have a little more focus. Otherwise, it would be immense amounts of stuff. As
it is, the second thing is, it is quite likely that the games we talk about may not be at GenCon.
It's always possible.
Well, it's quite possible that things can get held in customs. A lot of times publishers rush stuff. They'll even airlift games in so they're at GenCon. But anything can go wrong. And there may be games at GenCon that we had no idea would be there.
Of course, and that's good too.
All right, so are we ready?
Let's do it. Let's talk about some games, man.
All right, the first company is 1A Games. This was a company that was formed a couple years ago for the sole purpose of producing Tide of Iron.
Right.
They bought it from Fantasy Flight Games, and then they redid it. I believe they put it in a box that's kind of the size of this Thunderstone box now.
Yeah.
It's a much smaller box.
Yeah, smaller Ticket to Ride-ish kind of box.
There will be some day where we'll tell our kids these tales. Remember when there used to be boxes that were this big?
You could fit a donkey in one.
But anyway, they were selling all the extra Tide of Irons. They bought them.
Right.
Now so this one should be at GenCon.
And they're calling it Tide of Iron New Wave? Is that correct?
This is not your style of game.
No.
It's a little bit heavier of a war game. I mean, it's not a heavy war game, but I'd say it's halfway between... I wouldn't even say halfway between Memoir. It's a big step up from Memoir. There's a lot of different things, but full of plastic pieces.
Yep.
Then they have this unusual game called Crosshairs Testing Ground.
Hairs is in, rabbit. Not,
No, I'm sure the pun is there, sir.
I get it, but there's a bunch of rabbits all over this game. Just making you aware of it.
Well, that's why the pictures are flashing.
There you go.
This is not anything like Tide of Iron.
At all.
This is it looks like you're rolling and moving and you're trying to race rabbits. It's
a roll and move, shoving the other people out of the way kind of game, very in your face, but with a roll and move mechanic, yeah. The artwork looks interesting, but yeah, the game looks kind of light and strange, unique.
The next publisher is 8th Summit, which has done Agents of Smersh. And they'll have 2 new things there. They'll have the expansion for Agents of Smersh, Swagman's Hope.
Very cool name.
Yeah, and so we have a copy of that. We'll actually hope you play it and have that up soon. And then Run, Fight, or Die, in which I hope to have it up very soon, a review of that, which is a very light zombie game. It's very different than many other zombie games because it uses the Yahtzee mechanism.
Yeah, a dice roller, definitely. And you're trying to keep the zombies at bay by chucking a handful of dice.
And like any good zombie game, it comes with a lot of miniatures. So, and there's multiple expansions for it. There's hordes of zombies. There's a co-op way to play it. And so, anyway, there's a lot of it.
Cool.
Academy Games is doing FIF France 1429.
Now, these guys are always a company to watch, definitely, because they've put out before... They put out Freedom of the Underground Railroad last year. They put out the 1812 before that, and the 1775. And now this game was originally a game that had come out before in France, and they're picking up and putting out here with some revisions. I think it was just called FIF before. Now it's FIF France. 14,
right. Now this is a game that normally I would just turn my nose up at because it's based in Europe. It's about being a noble and controlling serfs,
marrying people off for control, and yeah.
But Academy Games has my attention. They've not done a dud yet.
Right.
So we'll see. Action Phase Game has done Heroes Wanted, and this is a game I've actually had a chance to play. You can go check out my review of that. It's a silly superhero game where you're trying to get your superhero to be able to join the whatever their version of the Justice League is called.
Right.
Or Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. So anyway, that's Heroes won it. I enjoyed it, so check that out. Ad Magic Games has a game called Gothic Doctor.
It's Dr. Gothic, actually, right?
Oh, Dr. Gothic?
I thought it was Dr. Gothic.
The words Gothic and Doctor appear in the title. I don't know a whole lot about this. It looks like it's a Take That card game.
Yeah, I looked into it a little bit, and it's basically a light set collection game with the theme being you're the doctor and your patients just happen to be fantastical creatures. You are healing Frankenstein's wife, and you're taking care of, you know, Dracula, and you're that's the idea. But it's very much...
That's not a bad theme. That's pretty cool.
It's a cool theme. But it's a Take That light set collection game. The monster requires a certain combination of stuff, and you gather it in your hand and heal it. That's the deal.
All right. Now for one of the big companies at the convention, and that would be AEG Games. AEG has a whole pile of stuff. The Doomtown Reloaded, which I just did a review of.
Yeah.
Which is a two-player card game. Used to be a collectible card game. This one's going to be a living card game, although they're not calling it that.
Well,
I forget what it is.
Right. It's the revamping of Deadlands Doomtown.
For those of you looking for your Euro game fix, Istanbul, which just won the Kenner Spiel award, will be there. And Lost Legacy, the Starship. Now, this is one that I think a lot of people are interested in because it's the spiritual sequel to Love Letter.
Love Letter, yeah.
Although it's half of the spiritual sequel. The Lost Legacy, the Japanese version I got, had like 2 different games.
Right. And
AEG separated them.
There's actually, I want to say AEG's coming out with 3. The Japanese version already, there were 2. I think there's 3 now. The Starship and 2 more. And each one is its own micro game, but you can mix and match a little bit.
Yeah, we were talking about this in our game group because some people said, why are they splitting them? But I think they're splitting them because they want people to be able to buy a game and not have to say, well, there's actually 2 games in here. For the non-gamer, which I think these games kind of target, that can be kind of confusing.
Sure.
Even though if I get them all, they're all going in one box.
or one of those drawstring baggies.
Yeah. All right, Pagoda, a 2-player game. Did a review on that one. Very much enjoy it.
Cool.
Say Bye to the Villains, which has to be one of the weirdest names.
Well, I just found out what that meant. I was really confused by it, too, and it always threw me off. That name, to me, was always off-putting. But apparently in Japanese, Seibai, that pronunciation means vengeance. So it's apparently vengeance to the villains. But they should have just written vengeance to the villains on the cover, not say bye to the villains.
See ya!
That's, again, say bye sounds cool, but not say bye.
Well, that makes more sense. Vengeance to the Villains is a cool name.
Vengeance to the Villains would be awesome.
All right.
It's basically a co-op game in which it's a big group co-op. You know, you play up to 8. It's a card game in which you lay out some villains and you are drafting cards for your hero. And at the end of the game, you pick which of the villains you want to fight, and then you reveal their cards and see if you can take them. So you kind of split up the villains among yourselves, figure out who you want to go for, help each other out, that kind of thing. It looks interesting.
All right. And then they have the new Smash Up expansion, Monster Smash, which will have vampires, mad scientists, werewolves, and giant ants.
This looks cool. I'm excited about it.
I'm a big fan of Smash Up anyway. Also, they have the Smash Up, the big geeky box, which has the geek faction, which I'm actually not as excited about. I mean, of course I want to get it because it has another faction,
right.
But the geeky faction almost seems like a meta thing. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it really, it's one level above. It makes me feel self-conscious playing Smash Up. I think it will anyway. So, I don't know. But the Monster Smash, that looks awesome. Werewolves, I can't wait for werewolves.
Yeah, I'm actually more pumped about the mad scientists because they'll have the Frankensteins bringing them to life.
Yep.
The vampires will heal by destroying other people. You know, typical. I just still think it's kind of weird that giant ants made it in this one. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I thought for sure it'd be mummies.
Yeah, we don't have a good mummy faction yet.
That's okay. I'm sure it's coming.
It's coming.
Trains Rising Sun is not going to be at GenCon. It initially said that it would be there, but it looks like it's not going to be there. They'll have a new map for Trains. I am pumped about it. They'll be showing it off there, and I'm just talking about because I don't know if you know anything about it, but you've played Trains, right?
I have, yes.
Yeah, Trains is a great game. The board is is cool, but what trains the Rising Sun will now have things like if you connect different cities, you'll score points, which will suddenly make this. I think it's going to make this game completely different.
Yeah, give it a whole new layer.
Oh. So that's cool, and that's it for AEG that we know of. APE Games has let's see, Arcadia.
Which I don't know a ton about.
Well, it's about building amusement parks. It's a card game. And
that'll be a demo, right?
That's not going to be out. The games that they will have out, they're also demoing Spirits of the Rice Paddy. But they'll be showing off Island Siege, which I just did a review, a very quick 2-player game. Roar, which is a monster game.
It's like a monster bidding game, really. It's you make a monster, very simplistic idea, and then you draft cards and bid with other monsters to see who gets to, like, smash the city. It sounds interesting. It actually sounds like something I would enjoy, but be aware, it's a monster bidding game. It's not. You're not gonna go in there and, you know. I feel like people might go rawr, rawr, and then realize, wait, we're bidding. You know, it looks cool, but bidding game.
Do I hear a roar? Do I hear a 4-roar? I'm wary of this one, if only because I'm wondering if the theme will match the game. But who knows? They'll also have the new map for Rolling Freight, Great Britain and India. So that's APE Games. Arcane Wonders. Well, somewhat biased here. Arcane Wonders will be releasing what I hope is one of the hits of the convention, and that's Sheriff of Nottingham, which is the first in the Dice Tower Essentials line, which is a line of games that basically I have to say are awesome. And this is the first one. It's a reprint of Robin Hood, which in itself was a reprint of Hart and der Granz. It's a game in which you essentially are lying to other people the whole game. Yeah,
it's a solid bluffing game where you are trying to be sneaky.
But man, the new artwork for this is phenomenal. Yeah. So this is one I'll be. We'll have, if you come by the Dice Tower booth, we'll have a promo pack of cards for this game that you can donate to the Dice Tower and get.
I'll be there.
You're just gonna steal one. All right, AEG Games. They're known for 2 games, really. They've made quite a few, actually, at this point. But if you say AEG Games, people either know War of the Ring, or they know the Wings of
Sails of Glory.
Wings of Glory, Sails of Glory, whatever. In fact, they're going to have some new, the big bombers for the Wings of Glory will be there. Cool. But their big game, I think everyone will be talking about, will be the Battle of 5 Armies.
This one snuck up on me. I hadn't heard of it. And then I was looking through it, and Battle of the 5 Armies maybe means something to really Lord of the Rings fanatics, but it didn't mean anything to me.
I can't even look at it right now.
So I looked at it, so I'm like, okay, Battle of 5, I know what that means. I looked at it, and I'm going, wait, is this an expansion to War of the Ring? No. This is a whole new game. And supposedly shorter a little bit, but just as thematic, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
I am really pumped.
Yeah, I'm excited because I do know what the Battle of 5 Armies is. It's well, you got to watch the movie that comes out this year. Okay, anyhow. They're also going to be demoing Dino Race, which is made by the same designers, actually, but who knows?
It looks cute. It's cute and little, and you're racing little dinosaurs and trying to save your little dino eggs. It looks silly.
Then we move on to Asmadi. To be clear, this is not Asmodee, but Asmadi. And
yes.
With an I at the end. They are known, they brought innovation. That was the game that made them well known. They did a few other.
Yeah.
They've been talking about these games for a long time. In fact, I think he was selling them out of a bag he was carrying at Origins.
Really?
But there's Equinox, which is some sort of abstract black versus white game.
Yeah, that's the one with the. It's basically got tiles, and you are playing. It's a little bit like Innovation, in which you're trying to combo build, but instead of playing cards and splaying them and all that jazz, you're just playing tiles into a hex overlay, basically, and you might force other tiles to flip over. You're either black or white. The back is black, the front is white. And it just sounds, I looked at a bunch of pictures, did some research, and it looks a little brain burnery. It looks like there's a lot of combos and
I looked at it and thought, I think Z would like this game. That was what I thought.
No, I'm not super pumped about it, actually.
All right.
I was not a big fan of Innovation, so this feels like a spiritual sequel to that a little bit, and it doesn't have its hooks in me yet.
All right. Then there's Heat which is a criminal underground drafting game. Mini game. Okay, I'm cool.
Yeah, it looked neat. I'm
always for the mobster theme. I like that.
Yeah, it looks interesting.
The big game that's getting buzz, though, is Impulse. I've heard a lot of good reviews of this. This is a 4X exploration, extermination, expansion, and exploitation. Did I already say it? No. Expansion.
Don't look at me.
Exploration.
I don't go into it. I just say 4X and I stop there because I'm
expansion,
smart.
Exploration, exploitation, and extermination.
That third one I don't think was a word. But
Exploit. Yes. Exploitation. Sorry. Anyway, a 4X game, but these games are usually big and sprawling. This one's a small card game.
Right. From the same designer as Innovation and Glory to Rome. And it's gotten a lot of buzz so far. So
that's true. You like Glory to Rome, though, don't you?
Glory to Rome's fine. I like Glory to Rome.
All right, well, we'll see.
I like his Uchroni, actually, much better. But I'm not a big fan of 4X games, though. And this looks interesting, but again, in that typical Asmadi look, it's very monochromatic. It's everything's black and white, and it's very stark, which you might like or you might not. I'm on the fence right now.
All right, now for probably the company with the most releases that have listed, and that's Asmodee.
Yeah, these guys have a lot of other companies that work under them.
Right, I was just saying, this includes Matago, and there's a lot of different publishers.
Repos.
But since they're all going to be at the same booth, I'm just going to say Asmodee. It makes sense to go there. And they're going to have a bunch of the new stuff like Splendor. I'm sure they'll be selling the snot out of that and say this is the game that should have won the Spiel des Jahres. Please buy it. But here's what they will have. They'll be demoing some new their new timeline games, which are cute little games about putting things in order. They'll also be demoing Conan, Hyborian Quest, which I'm pretty pumped about.
That looks interesting. Now is that I'm not sure if that's a demo or if they're selling it.
Yeah, that's the thing where I'm not on the fence here with Asmodee, and they're not even sure which games they'll get there.
Right. But it looks very interesting.
They'll also be demoing the new expansion for Seven Wonders, Babel, which has you building different sections of the Tower of Babel.
That one definitely is a demo. It should be out for Essen.
I will say, of all the expansions that they've talked about for Seven Wonders, this one really has me looking at it because it really changes the game. Being able to put these pieces out in this tower will change how the game is played.
Yeah, it looks very cool. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Eric Summerer played a demo of this, very early demo, last year.
Did he?
At GenCon, if I'm not mistaken. He was praising it, so I can't wait to check that out.
Now, for games that we're pretty sure that they'll have, there's the expansion for Masquerade. More cards for Masquerade. I think they have Bruno Fedudi put one up on his blog, The Princess.
Right. He has the one with the puppeteer, which is very cool artwork, which is up on his website if you want to look at that as well. And yeah, it's just more characters, more of that wild craziness, double guessing stuff. It sounds like more goodness for that game. If you like that game, check out that expansion. And
then another expansion for Kikladis, Titans, Giants. I really like that game. I'm really pumped about it. I would prefer if they were like, we have a new expansion for Kemet. They have one announced, but I think it might not be out till Essen. But anyway, then there's...
That one looks good too.
A lot of the little games here. Not maybe a little. Hyperborea. What do we know about that one?
Hyperborea is from one of the designers of Kingsburg, which is kind of what perked my ears up. And it's been in production a long time. It originally used to have a space theme, and now it's set in like a fantasy realm. And it's sort of like a deck building, but instead of building a deck, you are grabbing cubes and throwing them in a bag, and you pull out cubes from the bag, and that's what your action will be. So it's like a bag building game. It sounds like a good mix between some Euro ideas with that bag building stuff, and then a lot of board play. You know, this is one of the ones that, again, as I was doing my research, sort of started moving up and up in my mind. It looks really good.
All right, and then Cash and Gun, second edition. Very pumped about this one. Yeah. The new artwork by John Kovalik, who did Dork Tower, but it seems like they streamlined it. Now, I wasn't sitting around thinking it needs to be streamlined.
Sure.
But I'm going to give it a try, because Cash and Gun is a very successful game.
Yeah, and I'll give it a try as well. I think I might hang on to my first one anyway, but It looks like a nice twist on the original. I'm going to check it out.
Then we have Lords of Xydet. And this one's interesting to me because it's in the same universe as Seasons.
See, and it's interesting to me because it's a reprint of Himalaya.
Oh, is it?
It
okay,
is.
I knew that.
Himalaya is this old programming game that for years I've been interested in and hoping it would come back into print. And so this one completely flew under my radar because I looked at it. It's that same artwork as Seasons.
So it's the same universe. They're using the same characters.
Same artwork, same universe. But I looked at it. I'm going, okay, that looks neat. I looked at some quick pictures, but then as I did more research, found out this is a cleaned up version of Himalaya, and now I'm really pumped. This is near the top of the list for me. Can't wait to check it out.
Speaking of cool artwork, Abyss. Oh man,
yeah, really.
That is some of the nicest artwork I've seen for a game ever. The box, you look at it and you're almost like, I don't want to buy that game. It's kind of scary.
And they have all the different box covers. It's actually alternate art.
Oh, is there?
5 different covers you can buy.
Are you going to buy all 5?
I'm going to buy the one with the cool guy with the purple thing over his head.
So you think there'll be one copy that no one will want? You'll see like copies of one of the aliens and no one's going to buy that one?
They'll have to discount that one. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to run to that prompt.
We did, in the Origin Summer preview on the Dice Tower, you can see how to play that one, and Lords of Xydet. Then there's World of Tanks Rush, which is a deck building game. We weren't real keen on it. I know they made a few changes to it, so I'd have to try it out. And then Korrigans. So that's quite a bit from Asmodee. You got anything else from Asmodee?
No.
All right.
Went over.
Last A company is Atlas Games, and they're doing Gloom 2nd edition.
Right, which from what I hear is basically, it's almost a straight up reprint, but they cleaned up the rules, they cleaned up some symbology on the cards.
Well, it sold really well after they did the tabletop episode.
Right.
Where they talked about Gloom. So it's good to see that back in print.
Cool.
Well, guess what, folks? That's all for this video, just the A companies. But that is actually 1/5 of all the games we're talking about.
Yep.
So quite a few. So we'll see you guys in other videos. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia.
Woo!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at Cool Stuff.